after, sleepless nights, eternal laughter. By the farm, push up some daisies.
Come get down with us creepy crazies.
Hi, wanna come play with me?
Fred's de jour.
And daily nightmares.
Use the scare to raise your neckbands. If you think it's too macabre, follow the floating candelabra.
But he ain't French and he can cruise. We did that in a beastly cartoon.
She was a beauty. Never rest will never cease till you finally rest in peace.
You can fly and you can float.
Or you can scream just like a goat.
Hello, my wonderful patrons, and welcome to Patreon with Cheese, a podcast where it's also a cheesy podcast, but on Patreon. And today, in lieu of our usual host, Liz Eston, who is out with mono, we are joined by one of our favorite people of all time, Cats lover in both sense of the words, and just all-around great guy, Joel Arnold!
Hello! Oh, thank you for that introduction. Waka waka!
Oh, we're diving right in. This week we are talking in seasonable fashion, which is rare for the Patreon side. The Muppets Haunted Mansion, the new Disney Plus marketing tool to promote the Haunted Mansion ride. Like, it was doing really rough lately after the last 70 years, apparently.
Yeah, the steam that they had from the Eddie Murphy movie kind of petered out. And this is sort of the interim content before they actually do the new movie. I forget who that stars, but it feels like it's Paul Rudd.
Scarlett Johansson.
Like that. Scarlett Johansson? Okay, well, there's that. There you go.
No, that's wrong. She's in the Tower of Terror movie.
There's a Tower of Terror movie, too?
Yeah, every ride is getting their own movie. I know the
I did
Haunted
like the Melora Hardin, the whatever one they did for TV like years and years ago. Jan from The Office.
Yes, but I know that Lakeith Stanfield and Tiffany Haddish, and it's written by Katie Dippold, who you might remember from the Ghostbusters 2016 film, which I'm
the
actually
Heat.
a fan of.
I
like
love
both
Katie
of those
Dippold.
things.
Yeah, she's so good.
I really like her, and I feel like she gets a bad rap for Ghostbusters 2016, but listening to commentary, she gets Ghostbusters. Come on, guys.
I think
that
so.
movie has issues, but it's not the fault of the actors and the casting choices. I just think Paul Feig's a bad director for numerous reasons.
Wow.
Have you seen?
I love his filmography.
Have you? What's the one with Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively?
A Simple Favor.
I really don't like that. That is a great script ruined by terrible direction.
Oh, firm disagree. I love it so much. I recently introduced it to a friend and was just so happy with it.
You're now being introduced to like my favorite part of Patreon with Cheese. We can go into as many tangents as possible.
Right,
that movie
right.
is obviously written to be much more direct thriller, and Paul Feig, even in the commentary, was like, I just kind of wanted to go home at 5 p.m. and I didn't really want to shoot at night for that reason, so I just changed all the nights to days.
It's so it's like it walks this tonal line between. Well, I mean, it is a thriller. It is a comedy, and it really does both. Like you're not going to have a mommy vlogger on this this thriller journey without it being so comedic. Like, and this bisexual like coming into her own. Meanwhile, you've also got just like a Gone Girl plot over here with a terrifying Blake Lively. It's so good. It feels
like a 90s movie, if that makes sense. It feels like a film that would come out in the 90s and everyone would be like, what was that?
Yes, like a 90s erotic thriller, but updated for today's sensibilities.
I don't even think so. I think the part, like, there's so much good about that movie. Like, that's what bothers me. Like, there's a good script and a good twist and a good planning out of, like, a mystery. It's just the window dressing that bothers me.
The window dressing of Linda Cardellini and Jean Smart, all these amazing casting choices.
Those are great. Andrew Rannells showing up to run over the bad guy in the last 5 seconds. That is maybe not as great.
But that was perfect.
I love Andrew Rannells, but spoilers for...
Okay, well, we'll let the listener, if they haven't seen it, decide. It's just it's about a couple of moms who have a friendship, and then something happens.
Yes, that is a Simple Favor happens. Not to be confused with the Simple Plan, which I'm pretty sure is an early aughts teen band. That feels right. But the Muppets Haunted Mansion. So this kind of sprung up on everyone, to be honest. Like, it announced like 2 months before it premiered. It was directed by Kirk Thatcher, and by the entire Henson Company. It was written by Bill Beretta and Kirk Thatcher. So this is kind of a Muppet in-house project. This isn't, of course,
Color me shocked for how I think it went. But yeah, it's from, this is a long time since the 2000s, many a Muppet project director.
But then again, that doesn't always mean quality. Outside of Frank Oz, who I think is always going to bring quality to it. Brian Henson directed the Happy Time Murders, which...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, we agree there. But yeah, I wondered where he had gone, Brian Henson, after two, for me, really great movies in the 90s with these book adaptations of Muppet Christmas Carol, Muppet Treasure Island, and then he just doesn't direct anything for quite a while, and then comes back with that, and it's I felt that was a really crass and hollow kind of parody movie.
But looking at the concept art for the initial ideas, it was supposed to be much darker, R-rated Roger Rabbit, in that they go towards the not raunchy but more sadistic end. And then they were like, Melissa McCarthy, can we just turn it into a vehicle for her? And then now we've got what we have. The other one, I'm not sure if that would have worked, but at least it would have been something interesting. And the puppeteering is good in that movie.
Oh yeah, the puppets look great. I think it's purely on the writing and the directing, as well.
Yeah. But there are some new songs in this. Very good songs, I feel like. There's only 3 of them though, which is sad.
I tried to count. Well, we've got a couple of existing songs. I think the intro was "Dancing in the Moonlight." I think Rolf off screen is singing that.
Yes. And they also ended with that when they have the bows thing during the credits, which is the Electric Mayhem singing it, which is wonderful.
Oh yeah.
But we've got all the big guys coming back. We got Dave Goelz as Gonzo and many others. Matt Vogel and controversially as the new Kermit, taking over for Steve Whitmire. Do you know anything about the controversy there?
Yeah, I had to remind myself watching this that it was a new Kermit since 2017 is a little while ago, but I haven't been up as much in my Muppet properties, so this led me to reading an exhaustive Vox article all about why Steve Whitmire was fired, what the two sides say, because it sounds pretty acrimonious, and Steve Whitmire has who I believe is the successor chosen by Brian Henson and Jim Henson's wife.
Yes.
But there was, there's a long rabbit hole you can go down of what the two sides say and his relationship to Kermit that has now been severed, which gave him an existential crisis. It's fraught, but there is a new Kermit, and it took some getting used to. It didn't have that that Kermit je ne sais quoi that I was used to.
I agree, but I feel like he's still growing into it. Even Steve Whitmire, at first, was not quite there yet, and I want to give him time. And I hear that he's kind of not the nicest person in the world, and not the biggest team player in the world. And a lot of the other Muppet folks did not defend him once he was ousted, which I think says a lot.
That is true.
I think what they're doing to try to, because they know it's not a perfect fit, and they can't just dub another voiceover, because all of puppeteering is the puppeteering and the voice mix. So it is a performance. So I feel like they're just finding someone an audience, meaning you and I, basically, can get used to. So we're going to stick with Gonzo as our point of view character, played by Dave Goelz, which is great. I am always down for Gonzo. I am pro Gonzo, except for Muppets from Space.
Same, yeah. Muppets from Space. Don't know what was happening there. That's a weird one, but yeah, it's the same Gonzo going back, 20 plus years forever, I think. And it is his story. I'm used to him being paired with Rizzo, but I liked the Pepe pairing.
I hate Pepe so much.
You do?
I am not a Pepe fan. Maybe have you seen Muppets Wizard of Oz?
No.
That will make you really hate Pepe.
What's
I'll say-
Pepe's role there?
He plays Toto, which means he is in
okay.
every scene. So you can imagine how grating that can be. Like at one point he like twists Gonzo's nipple thinking it's a radio dial and then has like gay panic. Like that movie's not great. Quentin Tarantino has a cameo in it. That's the kind of level of insanity. Yeah.
Who is Dorothy? Oh, Dorothy's a human.
Ashanti.
Gotcha. Okay, this kind of makes sense for who the characters. I'm just seeing that rounding out the cast, Gonzo's the Tin Man, and
Yes.
Kermit's the Straw Man,
Yeah.
Scarecrow. Fozzie's a lion. Miss Piggy comes. Oh yeah, she's the Good Witch.
And the bad witch. She's everywhere.
Oh, she's both. Oh, that's good.
That's smart.
Yeah, there are individual choices that Muppet Things can make, even when other times they're making bad choices.
I agree.
I think in this, there are things I enjoyed, other things I did not enjoy. It's
Okay,
both.
how about we start with the things you enjoyed? What did you
Yeah,
like
sure.
about this special? 'Cause I feel like your
well,
con list is going to be bad.
Sure, yeah. So 5 stars for Miss Piggy, and for her costumes that she had, the couple's costume of switching her and Kermit, like they're wearing each other's skin essentially, but like in a cute way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked that.
That was really
and,
cute. I like that too.
I'll talk about how like the tone felt off at times, but like, so I don't love that this felt that there's a scene that feels apart from everything else, but it was scary in an
really good,
existential
though.
way. Like there's a scene. I don't know if we need to set this. Gonzo's going to the haunted
Yes.
mansion because he's been invited. That's always how it goes. But I think it's because it's the 100-year anniversary of the death of his favorite magician, so he gets to go to this party at the haunted mansion, but it's a haunted mansion and he has to survive the night.
And he always accepts a challenge because he's Gonzo the Great.
That's right. And finally, when he is in a room alone facing his fears, he like ages rapidly in front of a mirror, and sort of has to,
He has
felt-
the arc.
it feels real there, where he's sort of realizing, wow, I don't need to put myself in dangerous or daring situations to be liked by my friends. They will accept me. Like that felt like it went to a cool place for Gonzo, but unexpected for the frivolity around everything else.
I mean, I feel like it's the right amount of darkness for a kid's Halloween special. It felt that perfect amount where it's limited to that one scene. If the kids need to get out the room, you know when it's over as an adult. I feel like it is the perfect amount.
That makes sense. It feels like I would always run out during Beauty and the Beast, during the wolves, when the wolves were there. And this feels like a thing you can just like duck out for when he's so old. The puppet was really great, but like really, really scared me because like it was my favorite and he was decrepit. He was decaying in front of me.
But it's also nice to give Gonzo depth in a way that's effective instead of being like, "Where's my family? Oh, they're aliens. Oh, I had a family all along." No, this is much more of an arc in kind with Gonzo and what he's looking for, and it makes sense for what's going on there. I liked it a lot. I was surprised in a positive way when it happened because I thought like, oh, this is just gonna be a goof and a Disney ad for like their parks, like the Muppets Go to Disney World and all that. But it wasn't that. It didn't feel as callous as that. And having that moment in there made it feel like a proper special that could have aired on The Wonderful World of Disney in the 90s. And I mean that in the most positive of ways. It made it feel more than an advertisement, which is saying a lot because I can't even watch The Rise of Skywalker without feeling advertised to.
Yeah, I've only been to Disneyland once, so I've only been on the Haunted Mansion once.
Same.
And it seemed like there were a couple of the signature features, like the room you go into that suddenly descends,
Yes.
and kind of the seeing the ball that's happening between the ghosts, but they didn't really hit you over the head with like having to hit each beat of the ride. It seemed like
No. Because they took the iconography, not the ride promotional material, like the Madame Leota piggy head and specific designs and stuff, and they used that to their advantage more than like, oh, you'll see this when you ride the ride. So I think that's an effective use, and I think this uses all of them better than the Haunted Mansion 2003 movie with Eddie Murphy, even though I don't think that's as terrible as everyone says it is.
Yeah, they really have to. They have to like build a plot around something that I think is very thin, which can be done. Like Pirates of the Caribbean, not really much of a story there, but you can do something with it, and maybe the new one also will. But yeah, if I hadn't known what the ride was like, I wouldn't have felt like I was missing something when those moments were happening.
Yes, and I think it's just the production design, especially because you have to be aware that they have to build them for puppets. Like, there's a lot of practical sets. It's not as much green screen as I was expecting from the commercials.
Oh, see, I feel like we were in a real place, maybe like 2 scenes.
I think it's about
there was
40, 60.
Ooh, we were in.
Maybe it's just real elements tricking me a bit, though.
I feel like even when, what was weird was that when we were clearly in a real place, I'm thinking of, I think like Madame Lee, no, who was Taraji P. Henson playing? She was playing Pepe's...
The ghost.
The ghost. A love interest to Pepe.
Yeah.
Well, she's trying to seduce Pepe. She's had many lovers. He's the latest one who's going to die. I think they're in a room together, but it still felt fake to me because of how flat it was shot.
I will say that entire subplot really didn't work for me.
I did tune out. I mean, it's hard because if a character's motivation is he wants to be with the famous people, or like he wants to elevate his social status, that's why he runs into John Stamos in the famous person's room. But he sort of goes away once the mind control starts, and it's not even him.
I mean, which is all good for me because I don't much like Pepe, but I don't think Taraji P. Henson's performance was really doing it for me. She's a fantastic performer, but I don't know what it was about it, but it felt off to me. Like it felt like a role that should have been given to Miss Piggy, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay, who were the best human performers? Because, I mean, some of them are just like a cameo. Like, I caught in the very beginning and very end, when you're going through the graveyard, where Darren Criss is there with a dog.
Yes.
There's a quick appearance from Ed Asner.
Yeah, very, very quick.
Yeah.
May he rest in peace.
Exactly, yeah. What's his name? I need to get the actor's name right. Alfonso, who does the Carlton Banks? Alfonso Ribeiro.
Yes.
Ribeiro. Yeah. I think that was him. Sashir Zameda.
Danny Trejo.
Yes, Danny Trejo. I feel like
Chrissy Metz.
Oh. Yeah. Who else was... So, of the humans, did you have a favorite or one that you thought was, like, deployed well?
I mean, let's not be playing around. Let's not pretend any of these are like the caliber that they would have for like their big films. Let's not pretend they're Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett here, or like Sarah
Will
Silverman
Arnett.
and all that.
Yeah,
Will Arnett
he was maybe the most
easily,
on screen.
Yeah, and he's easily the one that leaves the biggest impression. But Darren Criss really sells that song he's given.
He really tries. I found it. If we're dipping into firmly in the dislikes,
Let's go.
It was. No, Cats receives a criticism that I will agree with, that they have trouble with scale, and that the cats seem one size in one shot, and seconds later seem a different size. Like, are they? Like what size in relation to this chair are they? And that's the way I felt with this. So much more, especially in that graveyard scene as a prime example, because so much is like the background, but also the props is visual effects. Like Darren Criss was in maybe a little piece of grass, fake grass with headstones, but then everything else is sort of a green screen. and the way the camera moved within that kind of was very quick and sort of within the same flat shot. Like it feels like it could have been a YouTube, like a quality YouTube setup, but like one nonetheless. And my sense of scale kept changing. And also I think the lighting of the real people made it so they didn't quite look right because it didn't match what the backgrounds turned out to be. So it kept, like, I don't notice things like this, but it kept taking me out.
Right.
But how did it work for you?
I mean, ghosts, I don't imagine them as beings that can, like, reflect light. So if the lighting doesn't quite match as much, it doesn't bother me too much. I do agree with you with the flat framing, but I think that's mostly to deal with, we'll put in whoever we can get later. Which is part of the trade, and sadly as that is. And just for COVID's sake, I would not want Ed Asner on a set full of human beings. For obvious reasons. So I'm willing to suspend disbelief there, but as soon as like it starts to move and feel like a bit more intentional with what it's trying to do instead of like, here's a ghost, the energy does pick up a little bit for me. And it doesn't have to look perfect. It's a Muppet film. You're already suspending a bunch of disbelief to believe that these puppets are interacting with these humans, and we're all... So having a little bit of a lighting effect between them, that's fine.
I think that was the bridge too far for me, where I'm like, okay, we've got puppets, I'm buying in, but I'm specifically buying in because it's like puppets are alive in a real world with us. If the world's fake too, then kind of everything's fake. Like the hallways when there's shots, I mean, mostly it's this flat presentational Gonzo and Pepe sort of in the hallway, yes. And you're sort of next to the wall, like long ways. But there are times when he's running, and it honestly looked like the trivia murder party, like the Jackbox hallway. Like it at times felt like you're in a point-and-click PC story game. Yeah, like that's the quality of the background that we got. And I understand, like, it for budget's sake, it's so much easier to do this than put them in a constructed hallway. But I kind of wish that we had just a little more, because all the rooms were of this same CG
I will say the
quality.
rooms do look samey, but then you've got things like Taraji P. Henson's upstairs loft, where that is like a real place with like real interactive things, just because of how much scale they have to bring to it, because all the ghosts are coming to life, and that feels really lived in. And like when they have to get cinematic with the camera movements, like when Gonzo gets into his ghost world, or in the build up to that, that's when you kind of see it come alive a bit more. But I'm agreeing with what you're saying, but I'm also like, hey, this is kind of cool. And to the contrary, the digital world that they build for the big Muppet ghost sequence, where everyone's just singing about how much they love being a ghost, I love it. Come on. I'm willing to accept some digital fakery just because, like, these ghosts are actually happy. No adaptation of Haunted Mansion has ever gotten that right.
Some things could not be achieved. Like, yeah, you needed visual effects to be able to, like, put all the puppets together in one space. I get that. And me, like, diving into this was a process of figuring out, like, why don't I feel anything watching this? And it wasn't what I brought to it. It was definitely, like, I was like, something about this. And I think it felt like even when we were in that more lived in space, like, the director didn't want it. It wasn't quite this bad, but it felt of the style of the director doesn't want to do more than like 2 setups per scene, like,
which I get,
straight flat in front. And I understand, like, that for the framing of Muppets that makes sense, but I'm coming at it from my most experience with Muppets has been the movies, which has more of a budget, but also even like the, not how to describe it, like the kind of review show like Saturday Night Live, but with Muppets, but like pre-taped, Muppets Tonight from the like 90s or 2000s, I think. And I think there are like ways of maybe presenting like real space, so it feels like they're not just in a fake environment, but I think this is actually a little bit how maybe the direction of the Muppets are going in. Like the Muppets Now show kind of is shot in the same YouTube style way.
Yes. And I'm going to give a little bit of credit now to them. This was announced in May. The cast was not announced until like, I want to say late August, and they released it this month. So that was a fairly quick turnaround for a production. So I'm going to imagine that this didn't have the largest time frame to really get everything across in.
Yeah, and it is nice to see Gonzo at all. I appreciate that. Kermit, there was one thing that was just funny about, I don't know, it was very small, but it's just funny to see Kermit on a phone talking to Gonzo, like on a smartphone, like FaceTiming. That was odd. These are like characters of the 60s.
Because of Muppets Now, which eased you into it a little bit. And have you watched the Muppets The Office?
I think I did see that. Yeah, I think that was like enough on the internet that I saw that.
I like that show a lot. The first 5-6 episodes are rough. The rest of it is great.
Oh, see, I gave up after the first like 3 or 4.
Yeah, first 6 episodes are really rough. The rest of it finally gets what it's trying to be and becomes a much more positive, kind, more Muppety experience.
Yeah, okay.
But those first, let me be frank, those 6 episodes are real bad, so I get why a lot of people tuned out. But they got feedback and they adjusted, and it felt like a different show. It felt like they had a new pilot after like episode 6.
So maybe are people able to jump in at episode 6?
Yeah, basically. It's on Disney Plus, which is the
by
only
that
reason.
point, like Kermit back with Miss Piggy and not with someone else? Oh.
Like, she's not back with them, but I don't think he's with that hot Miss Piggy either. I think it's just kind of like they're working together and it's nebulous whether they're dating. You know, like the real Muppet Show.
They weren't together. You don't think they were together? Oh, I guess there was always some. I guess there was some tension sometimes, but
there was a lot of tension between them. They felt like they hated each other most days on the Muppet Show.
They could do with some couples counseling, I think.
Maybe don't date your coworkers. That's a hard and fast rule I have, but maybe that's just not the best idea. Kermit, go to HR.
Who do you think is? Oh boy, who is HR?
Sam Eagle. Come on.
That's just what I was gonna say. I was fearing it was gonna be someone inept, but no, he would be there for rules. Would they benefit you, the employee, or will they help the company? Tough to say. Sam could go either way.
It is the American way to have sex with your coworkers, so go ahead.
What's that, Headmaster? The British way.
Oh my gosh. All right. So, any other big thoughts you got, Joel?
No. I wish I could get in on the lighting. Just
Which
like the
is a
sheen
problem.
on Will Arnett's face didn't match anything else around them, and I wish it would. But
are you
yes.
ready to go on a Will Arnett tangent with me for a second?
Sure.
Have you watched any of Lego Masters?
No. I have watched the Lego Batman, but not the Lego Masters.
Okay, Lego Masters is basically like a Halloween baking competition, but for Legos and whoever can build. I watched the first season in one go, and Will Arnett is visibly inebriated through much of that.
Oh no!
And I'm like, oh my! And I think it was right when he was going through his divorce. So I'm just like, oh no! Someone needs to get him help. I have not watched season 2. Maybe he's doing better, but he's just sweaty and not really making sense what he's saying, and he looks rough throughout it.
Poor guy.
And here I was just like, man, he's looking good. He's not sweaty and miserable and slurring his words. Look at him.
I mean, I can only imagine that going through a breakup with Amy Poehler would be devastating. Well, also, it's a family and they have kids. Yeah. I'm glad he seems like he's doing better. That would be nice.
It would be nice. I mean, the only thing worse than, like, going through a breakup with Amy Poehler is going through a breakup with Olivia Wilde and then her dating Harry Styles.
Oof. Yeah. Like, I maybe he could have maybe you could have taken some satisfaction when Amy Poehler started going out with Nick Kroll, because you're like, oh, that's not gonna last, and then it didn't. But actually, I was kind of rooting for them for a little while, because that seems like sweet. Like, she was of the older generation of UCB, and he's like of the next one down, who was like having like a real huge moment at the time with like Kroll Show and the two tuna people. Oh, hello.
Yeah.
I don't know who she's dating now. I wonder who she's dating now.
I don't think it's any of my business, but you know what is
None of
becoming
this is. It's not mine.
Becoming my business? The John Mulaney situation. I feel like a lot of folks my age and younger are getting really angry about that. And his ex-wife just joined TikTok, and it feels like she's like, I know.
Oh.
Like, just yesterday, she just joined TikTok, and she has like nearly 1 million followers already.
Of course she does. People want to know her story.
They want the hot goss, and she's not giving it. Her first video is, here's how you put a duvet on, or how to fold a duvet, and I'm like, oh.
On the one hand, I want to be rid of knowing these things, not involved in their lives, not caring about them in a parasocial way where I have feelings about what they should and shouldn't do.
Exactly.
But it finds me anyway, and then when it does, I do have feelings.
I feel like the internet is just far too interested in the lives of comedians, specifically comedians. Who gives a shit about actors and all that? Like, comedians, that's when it suddenly becomes big. Like, I think that was a 90s, early 2000s thing where it was like all the actors, the Bradgelinas and the Jennifer Anistons and all that. And now it's all the comedians, the Jason Sudeikis' and all that, because we were rooting for you side of it.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like who feels accessible and know in quotes so much more about a comedian, like in terms of their psyche in the persona that they share. And we still have like performative celebrity, but it's not as like I guess maybe for super nerds of this kind of thing, like you can get really like, you can like dig in with a specific persona that John Mulaney like presents, whereas with like Dax Shepard and Kristen Bell, who are great.
Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan.
People.
Yeah. Like they're just like sort of,
Boring and living their
Ellen's
lives.
Before Ellen's downfall, like Ellen-esque, like good people. But I also still don't want to know, like, was shared today. Hang on, this was in a group chat that I got.
Oh shit.
Like, I think they were one of the people that was like sharing the stuff about just not bathing their children. Oh yes, here we go, the Daily Mail. Kristen Bell says she'd never been more in love with Dax Shepard than when he sucked out her clogged milk duct during breastfeeding.
I feel like that was a joke that the Daily Mail is just like, oh, that's a headline.
Part of it is in single quotes. I kind of... Yeah. I believe that they told the story and that maybe it wasn't during in the interview, and that is an act of love, but I don't want to know.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's brought us to this point is, honestly, the normalization really happened when Pete Davidson started dating everyone, and that became big news, and he would talk about it on SNL every week. I think that was when it became, like, everyone's business all of a sudden. Not against him or the people he dated, but I think that's what started it down this big snowball
it's
effect.
worth... There are differences between celebrity culture before and now, especially in the way that we treat women. So much, I mean, still not great now, but so much better than we used to. I wonder with the rise of social media, and like the immediacy of some celebrities, what drives curiosity with other ones. Because maybe it's like that they're not always accessible. Like John Mulaney, we've got specific specials and then like appearances by the paparazzi, but like he's not out there like crafting his social media image with like Instagram.
No,
like
maybe
it's more interesting because it feels
he deleted everything after his divorce.
See, I'm also not an expert, and there are people who know much more than I do. What I know is I have a group chat where friends shared. These are non-celebrities. I mean, I guess they are. They have a big following on TikTok, but like it's this couple who it's like 2 million followers, and the story of we met at 19, sober, living in a house in California, like a rehab. Then we were kicked out. Then we got married at 22. Then we had kids. Then we broke up for a year. Then we, the most toxic stuff with 5 kids using them for content.
Makes me want to throw up. But do you know who definitely made it work, and it makes me so happy? They went through their ups and downs, but they at least made it work, Joel.
Oh, I'm trying to think.
Don't think too hard.
Leatherface and his victims?
No, Kermit and Miss Piggy.
Oh, yeah.
What's your cheese rating on Muppet Haunted Mansion, Joel?
Oh, it's like a Parmesan that's in the dry goods aisle. It's not even like freshly shaved.
Ooh, you're going rough with it.
Yeah. I mean, Parmesan, not bad. Put it on some good pasta, and it does enough of the job. Where I'm just like, this reminds me of things that I like.
That's fair. I'm a big fan of spicy things. I know I really do like... I like tasting my food when I do eat it. So one thing I really like is ghost pepper cheese. I know you can't really eat cheese, Joel, but it is incredible. I also
can't do
really
spice. How spicy is that?
That is as spicy as you can get in a cheese.
Yeah, I'd probably not do well in a lot of ways with that.
Yeah, that would be a rough evening for you. But also,
yeah, do you like
Ghost
just like the
Haunted Mansion?
Oh, right, of course. They love doing a good ghost pun in that show.
You mean goat? I could have just gone with goat cheese because goat. But you never know. Joel, thank you for joining us for this filling in. We love having you on. Our patrons love you. We all love you, Joel.
Oh, it's
You're
a pleasure
so
to
loved
be
in
on. Oh
this
my
Musicals
God!
with Cheese Corner. But let's wrap it on up. We'll see you next time on Patreon with Cheese.
Join us in this life hereafter.
Sleepless nights, eternal laughter. Sleepless nights, eternal laughter. Sleepless nights, eternal laughter. Sleepless nights, eternal laughter.
And now the greatest act of all.
It's Gonzo's final curse.